You have watched the videos, you have read the articles, you know microplastics are in your blood, your lungs, your arteries, you have seen the studies, you have felt that low-level persistent unease that comes from knowing something is accumulating inside you and not being sure what to do about it. And then an ad appeared, or a wellness influencer, or a podcast guest with impressive credentials and a compelling argument. Chlorella, activated charcoal, sulforaphane, infrared sauna, a 30, 60, 90-day protocol that promises to reduce your plastic burden, clear your system, and give you some measure of control over something that has felt entirely out of your hands. You are not naive for finding that appealing. The fear is real, the science behind microplastics is real, and the desire to do something concrete in response to a genuine problem is completely reasonable. This video is not here to make you feel foolish for any purchase you have made or considered. It is here to show you exactly what the current evidence says about whether those purchases are doing what they claim to do and what the science actually does support, which turns out to be both simpler and more honest than anything being sold to you. The global detox supplement market crossed $14 billion in 2023. In 2026, industry analysts project it will reach $18 billion. The fastest-growing subcategory within that market as of the past 2 years is products specifically marketed for microplastic or toxin removal, chlorella supplements, activated charcoal capsules, zeolite binders, infrared sauna memberships sold on a detox protocol framing, testing panels that claim to measure your personal plastic burden, 30-day gut reset programs. The marketing is sophisticated, the fear driving it is legitimate, and the products themselves range from genuinely harmless to potentially problematic if used in ways their labels quietly discourage. What the marketing does not show you is a single randomized controlled trial in humans demonstrating that any of these interventions measurably reduces the concentration of microplastic particles in human tissue. Not one. The Science-Based Medicine Journal reviewed this specific question in January of 2026 and reached a conclusion that is worth reading directly. There is no credible evidence, they found, that supplements, saunas, chelation-like binders, or dietary protocols can flush plastics from the body. The leap from a real environmental problem to a personal detox solution is marketing, not evidence-based medicine. That finding is not a fringe opinion. It reflects the current state of the primary literature, and it is the foundation everything in this video is built on. The money matters. $30 to $80 for a month of chlorella supplements multiplied across millions of anxious buyers is a real transfer of wealth from people who are genuinely concerned about their health to companies that are providing something between minimal benefit and no measurable benefit at all. But the more important stake is cognitive. When you believe you are addressing a health risk, you stop looking for other ways to address it. If you are taking your microplastic detox supplement every morning, you may be less likely to make the practical exposure reduction changes that the science actually does support. You have done something. The box is checked, the anxiety is managed, and the actual levers, the ones that work, go unpulled. This is the real cost of the detox supplement industry applied to microplastics. Not primarily the money, the false sense of having handled something that has not actually been handled, while the exposure that produced the fear in the first place continues unchanged. Understanding why this market works requires understanding something about how science gets translated and mistranslated in real time. The studies on microplastics in human tissue are real, and they are alarming enough to generate exactly the kind of free-floating anxiety that markets exploit well. The cardiovascular study, the arterial plaque findings, the particle counts from pouches and cutting boards and kitchen sponges we have covered in prior videos, these are documented, peer-reviewed results. The fear they produce is a rational response to real evidence. The mistranslation happens at a specific step. From those findings, the supplement industry makes a logical leap that the science does not support. Step 1. Microplastics accumulate in the body. Step 2. That accumulation may be harmful. Step 3. Therefore, a product that claims to remove them will reduce the harm. The problem is that Step 3 has not been demonstrated. Detecting microplastics in human tissue does not automatically establish that they can be selectively removed by a dietary supplement, or that removing them via a supplement would change any measurable health outcome even if it worked. One of the most prominent voices in this space published a video in May of 2026 titled "How to Actually Get Microplastics Out of Your Body" that has generated over 500,000 views. It recommends a specific protocol involving several branded supplements. I am not going to review that protocol here because the specific products are not the point. The point is that every supplement recommendation in that category currently rests on the same evidential foundation: laboratory studies, animal models, and theoretical mechanisms. Not a single human clinical trial with microplastic tissue concentration as the measured outcome. Let me go through the most commonly marketed detox ingredients specifically, because some of them do have real evidence for real things. And conflating the evidence with the marketing claims is its own kind of mistake. Chlorella is the most frequently cited microplastic detox supplement. The evidence for it comes primarily from a 2023 study examining chlorella for polyethylene microplastic removal from aquatic environments through a process called bioflocculation. That is an environmental remediation study. It demonstrated that chlorella can bind to microplastics in water. The leap from aquatic bioflocculation to clinically meaningful microplastic removal from human tissues is substantial, and it has not been bridged by human trial data. Activated charcoal has a stronger and more established evidence base for certain acute applications, specifically clinical use in poisoning and overdose management, where its extreme surface area allows it to bind a range of compounds in the gastrointestinal tract. The detox framing borrows from this established mechanism. The problem is that activated charcoal is non-selective. It binds not only the compounds you want removed, but also medications, nutrients, and other compounds you do not. Using it routinely as a supplement introduces its own risks, and there is no human data demonstrating that it reduces microplastic burden in the way its marketing suggests. Sulforaphane, the compound derived from cruciferous vegetables and particularly concentrated in broccoli sprouts, is the most scientifically interesting ingredient in this category, and also the most carefully misrepresented. Sulforaphane activates the NRF2 pathway, a master regulator of the body's antioxidant and detoxification enzyme systems. Animal models have shown that NRF2 activation can reduce some markers of oxidative stress associated with microplastic exposure. This is real biology. It is also animal data, and the specific claim that sulforaphane supplements reduce microplastic burden in humans is not what those studies demonstrate. What they show is a plausible mechanism worth investigating further. That is meaningfully different from a product claim. Here is where I want to be genuinely precise, because this is the point that separates an intellectually honest analysis from a reflexive dismissal. Some of what the detox supplement industry recommends is not harmful and may have real biological effects, just not the ones being marketed. Eating more cruciferous vegetables genuinely supports NRF2 pathway activation. A diet high in fiber genuinely supports gut transit time, which affects how long particles spend in the digestive tract before excretion. Staying well hydrated genuinely supports the kidney and liver clearance functions that process everything the body needs to move through. These are not nothing. They are just not the same as removing embedded microplastic particles from your arterial wall, which is what the marketing language tends to imply. The most honest framing of where the science currently sits is this: your body has real detoxification pathways. Supporting those pathways through diet, sleep, hydration, and exercise is genuinely evidence-supported behavior with real health benefits. Supplementing with a $30 bottle of chlorella to specifically target microplastic removal is not the same activity, and the evidence does not treat them as equivalent. I want to say something directly to anyone who has spent money on these products, because I think the wellness industry's usual move at this point is to pivot to selling you the right products instead of the wrong ones, and I am not going to do that. There is currently no supplement, protocol, or product that has been shown in a human clinical trial to meaningfully reduce microplastic concentrations in human tissue. That is not a permanent conclusion. Research is active, methods for measuring particle concentration in tissue are improving rapidly, and the trial infrastructure needed to test these interventions is being built. We may have different information in 2 or 3 years. But as of mid-2026, the honest answer to the question of whether you can supplement your way to a lower microplastic burden is, we do not know, and the current evidence does not support that claim. What we do know is where the exposure is coming from, because this series has spent 6 episodes documenting exactly that. the sponge, the cutting board, the water, the microwave container, the cookware coating, the baby food pouch. Addressing those sources reduces the ongoing input. That is what the current science supports unambiguously, and it costs less than a month of supplements. The evidence-supported actions in this space fall into two categories, and neither of them involves a capsule. The first is exposure reduction, which is the entire body of work this channel has been building since the first episode. Every practical swap we have covered, the glass jar instead of the plastic pouch, the stainless steel or ceramic instead of the coated pan, the wood or bamboo board instead of the plastic one, the glass or ceramic heated instead of the plastic container, removes a documented exposure pathway that is measurable, replicable, and supported by the studies we have reviewed directly. No supplement in this space has that level of documented mechanism-specific evidence behind it. The second category is supporting your body's existing clearance systems through established means. Adequate dietary fiber, specifically from whole vegetables, legumes, and whole grains, supports gut transit and has the most plausible, though not yet definitive, relationship to particle excretion through the digestive tract. Regular physical activity supports lymphatic and circulatory function. Adequate hydration supports kidney function. Consistent sleep supports the glymphatic system, the brain's waste clearance mechanism, which recent research has identified as potentially relevant to particle clearance in neural tissue. These are not detox supplements. They are the basic conditions under which your existing clearance biology functions at its best. None of this is as satisfying as a product. It does not come in a bottle. It does not have a before and after testimonial. And it does not offer the clean psychological closure of a purchase, but it is what the evidence currently supports. Here is the detail that reframes this entire conversation, and it is worth holding on to past this video. The supplement industry's entry into the microplastic space is following an exact historical template. The Science-Based Medicine Review from January 2026 noted explicitly that the current microplastic detox marketing pattern mirrors the Candida detox kit market from 20 years ago, almost step by step. A real biological phenomenon is identified. Legitimate scientific concern builds. Consumer anxiety rises faster than clinical evidence can keep pace with. Products appear that borrow the language of the legitimate science to sell interventions that the science does not actually support. The Candida detox market peaked and collapsed when the clinical evidence never materialized. The microplastic detox market may follow the same trajectory, or the research may eventually support some of the interventions being marketed. The honest answer is that we do not know yet. What you can know right now is that the marketing is running years ahead of the evidence, and the practical actions that are supported by the evidence are largely free. Go back to the ad or the influencer video or the podcast recommendation that first made you consider one of these products. Watch it again, or imagine watching it again, with the frame this video has given you. Notice where the evidence ends and where the implication begins. Notice the step from this has been found in human tissue to therefore this product will remove it from yours. That step is the entire business model. It is not necessarily dishonest about what microplastics are. It is not necessarily wrong that the mechanisms it describes exist in some form, but it is asking you to make a logical leap that the clinical evidence does not yet support. And it is asking you to pay for the privilege of making that leap. You now know where the evidence actually sits. You know what it supports and what it does not. And you know that the most effective things you can do about microplastic exposure are the things we have been building toward in this series: reducing where it enters, supporting your body's existing ability to manage what is already there, and staying current with the science as it actually develops rather than as it is being marketed to you. That is the only detox protocol this channel is going to recommend. It is free, it is evidence-based, and it does not require a subscription. If you want the next piece of this series, subscribing is how you get it. I will see you in the next